What's up, baby? Yeah. Hey, we're back. We in.
People need to start watching this on video.
Yeah, it's so much more entertaining. Also, today we're repping the old with the meat. I guess
The
that's
second
not
old.
I guess that's not the new.
No, it's not.
What
new.
is the new? Because no one's got the new.
I've got the new.
You got a new.
I've got the new underneath.
Wow, look at all this different branding we've got.
It's so confusing.
So confusing. Hey, it's not. It all says the ins and outs.
It does.
Yeah, shout out. This is an old jumper I got from a lovely girl called Becky.
Let me zoom in on that. Ooh, there we go.
And did you just zoom in from that?
I didn't zoom in.
I was well impressed. Look how many different ways it says the ins and outs in this room.
Oh shit, it's conflicting.
It's not. It all says the same thing. It'd be conflicting if it
Brandon,
said,
baby.
It'd be conflicting if it said out and in. Yeah. So I got a black jumper from her and I loved it. And then in lockdown, I tie-dyed it. Hence this, like this.
Bleachy
cool,
boy.
right? So today is a quick episode for you all.
Would recommend watching it on video as well.
Yeah. So if you listen to this, I mean, you're more than welcome to listen to it. Please do listen to it, in fact. But to get the full benefits, watch, because there is going to be some clips somewhere. Where to, do you reckon? Probably
like in this vicinity.
Probably in this vicinity, in front of the sign, of explanations of what we're talking about. So the whole point of this episode is
how to do doggy.
Wow.
That came out of nowhere. Wow. That came out of nowhere.
And anyway, let's try that again. And the point of this episode is
Can I just cut that
we're
bit?
giving you keep it in. We're giving you 6 exercises that we believe.
I think it's 7.
7 exercises. It is 7. We're giving you 7 exercises that we believe all dancers should be doing. Now, I am not a PT and I am not a professional PT or therapist.
But
however, Jacob is.
Jacob.
And although I'm not, I've been a professional dancer since I was 18 and I'm now 31, coming on 32. I know.
Granddad.
You bastard.
Every time.
I know I don't look it, but I look 30. But
I look older than you.
You do. So yeah, I've done it for a long time. A big part of my job has been having to look a certain way. But the point of these exercises isn't about how you look. It's about how you perform. It's to help you with injury prevention. And I am very fortunate that I've really taken care of my body and I've never sustained an injury. And I've had one.
What injury did you get?
Fused the vertebrae in my neck because I dived off a pier and hit my head on a rock. So it's not dance related.
Oh, not dance related then.
So
Have
other
you
than
never
that,
injured yourself on job?
no, touch wood.
That's maybe wood.
Touch wood.
That's 2 for 2 today. Doggy into.
Yeah. So
unfortunately,
I've never been injured. And I do believe a huge part of that is down to I've always exercised. And I've always really taken care of my body in the gym. And what I've begun to realize is that loads of dancers get injured. And it's a huge issue because we never learn about how to maintain a healthy body.
Something that I often talk to my clients about is being proactive versus reactive. So it's getting proactive about being like kind of prehab exercises so the injuries never happen rather than getting injured and then doing the rehab exercises.
We always want to work on prevention instead of rehabilitation.
Massively.
100%. And like, I'm really fortunate that I've never been injured, but I'm also not fortunate because I've put in the work to stay fit and healthy. So Jacob and myself have come up with 7 exercises that we think are very beneficial. They are really easy to, I guess they're not easy to perform as in they're easy to do. They are easy to do if you're a dancer, I guess. But they require 0 equipment. You can do them anywhere. So basically, there's no excuse. Because so many times dancers or like college students or people in jobs, they'll be like, can't go to the gym after rehearsals or after college. I'm too tired. I get it. I'm with you. Also, we don't want to go and batter ourselves at the gym after dancing for 8 hours. So you don't have to. Hey.
No, it's not. They're not like beast exercises.
It's not like gym, like let me beast out. It's to prevent your body from getting injured and to help them perform better. So we have 7 exercises. They are going to be put above our heads. Hopefully, if Jacob can make this really clever.
I'm
the
clever
first
boy.
one, which I love, this to me is incredible exercise. And when I first said it to you, you weren't really that sold until I explained it. For me, it's inchworms. So inchworms, basically, you would stand up with your feet in like a parallel first position. You would do a roll down just like you would in a dance class to put your hands on the floor. And you would walk out very, very tiny steps with your hands. Don't do like 3 steps. It's about doing loads of little steps, like an inch. Hence it's called inchworms. And you move an inch at a time your hands until you hit a plank position. A nice solid plank. Then, if that's really easy position for you to achieve, I dare you to do an extended plank.
I double dare you,
So
motherfucker.
you want to walk your hands out nice and far above your head. I can do it to a point where literally my nose is on the floor and I'm extended above my head. The goal is to do it without arching your back because you don't want to cause back injury. You want to stay in that contracted position the whole time. Not like a poor plank when you're in a straight line. Keep that contraction in your stomach so it's actually really engaged, not just resting in a plank. You wouldn't be able to rest in this position. And then you slowly walk your feet an inch at a time, tiny, 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 tiny steps until your feet meet your hands. The benefits of this: obviously, you're going to do a roll down, so you're going to, mobilize your spine a little bit if you roll down properly with correct form. You're also going to get an extension and a slight stretch in your hamstrings. Now, obviously, if you're not warm, you don't want to just bang out a full-on hamstring stretch, so you start off with your knees bent slightly, I guess. Walk out nice and slow till you hit that position. If it's your first few reps, maybe just do it to a high plank instead of an extended plank. Then the warmer you get, go further and progress. You don't need to do this 1,000 times. I would say if you do this 10 times,
5 to 10 times,
like 10 at the max, it's beneficial. Even if you're just doing it before warm up, before rehearsals or something, do it like 3 times. It's just gonna get your muscles engaged, because basically it's engaging everything from your head to your toe, like your arms, your shoulders, your core, your glutes, your legs, your calves. Everything is going to be engaged because you're in that high tension position in that high plank, the extended plank, I should say. And then the more you do it, you walk your feet in, you're going to keep getting a stretch in the hamstrings. For me, this is one of my favorite exercises that I do in the gym before I do any other weight training or anything. And it's actually, I look at it as a primer, as a warm-up exercise. But if you do it correctly, you don't need to do 1,000 of them. You're going to get a good workout in, and it's very beneficial for you overall.
I think just to kind of add on to the description of that, the end position which Kane is describing is, imagine it looks like you're about to dive into a swimming pool. You're in a dive position.
Yeah.
And going back to the reps of how many you should do, you should always look for quality of reps rather than the volume of reps. So if you can only perform 5 good, clean reps, keep it at 5. Don't go sloppy on it.
So
it's about precision.
Yeah, my rule is never go to failure. So if I can only
especially if you're in season, which as dancers
we never have an off season. We're always in season. So I would always say, for me personally, what I've learned, the best way to prevent injury is to remove the risk. So when you get to that final rep place, the last 2 reps, that's where you start increasing the risk of injury, because form is going to break down, technique's going to break down, muscles get tired. So just remove that risk. So if I can only do 5, I'm going to do 3 and then take a break for 2-3 minutes.
So
you
probably want to be
3.
working like a 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10 max.
Yes.
And be aware of what your week looks like. If you've got an 8-hour rehearsal the next day, you're going to decrease that level of intensity.
Yeah. And it's one of those things, the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. So that would be my first exercise.
What's exercise number 2?
Exercise number 2 would be ankle flexion walks, which when you said this to me, I was looking at you with skeptical hippo eyes. But once you broke it down...
Makes sense, right?
Makes sense, yeah.
So obviously, as dancers, you spend your life in with your ankles extended. So your calves are basically on fire. You think about retires, you think about...
releve, you mean?
Releve, sorry. What's retire then?
Retire is when you bring your foot to your knee.
Foot to your right. Sorry, releve. So,
Releve
you spend your lot of life...
when you're on your tippy toes.
So often you want to do a counteractive exercise to what you do a lot of. So for example, if you're a boxer, you throw a lot of punches, which means you need to do a lot of pull work, because you're doing a lot of pushing. You need to do a lot of pulling as a counterbalance. So you want to do a lot of ankle flexion exercises to counter how much strain you put in your ankle extension. So a good one to do, let's call it an ankle flexion walk. You stand as if you're about to walk normally.
Kind of look like a penguin.
You lift your toes off the floor, so all your weight is in your heels, so the balls of your feet are off the floor, and then you just walk, and you keep your ankles up the whole, can I describe this with my hands? No, but it'll be here. So you want to walk with your toes off the floor and just keeping your ankles flexed the whole time.
Another exercise I do, which is kind of similar to this, it's actually a knee exercise, but I'll lean against a wall and I'll bring my, I'll try and create like a nice steep angle, and I'll just lift my toes off the floor and hold it for like 10 seconds, squeezing as hard as I can. And it's to, I guess, stabilize your knee joints, but it's the same thing because it's working in that flex position.
Yeah. So yeah, it should be working the front side of your shin rather than the back side of your shin. So yeah, working the opposite muscles of your calves.
Duck walk, we'll call it.
Duck walk.
The next one we have is a single leg RDL. You go.
Up. Single leg RDL is really good. So it's what's known as a unilateral exercise. So unilateral is training one side of the body isolated rather than both at the same time.
Which as dancers is like where everything. We live. Like I know we do pliés and stuff on two legs, but like if you think of, we spend so much time like on one leg, pushing off one leg, jumping and landing on one leg. Unilateral is a huge part of our movement patterns.
And so one leg RDL is really good for training the whole posterior chain, but also really good at strengthening up glutes, hamstrings, core, but also learning how to stabilize through the feet and ankles and knees, and holding yourself in a strong position. Again, you'll hopefully see it in this area here. Main thing is so standing up on one foot, bring your knee up in front of you as if you're doing high knees, but in a controlled sense. You swing the knee that's up in the air back and you lean your chest forward until you're in like a tabletop position almost, keeping your knee soft but not fully extended. So it's all about where the hip goes rather than, it's hard to describe this without actually doing the exercise. So it's all about what your hip does rather than what your knee is doing. So your knee will stay in the same position and your body will rotate around your hip.
Yeah, so it's not about your knee bending, it's about your hip coming
rotating,
back, rotating.
Like you're doing a deadlift.
Like you're doing a deadlift. And I guess an RDL stands for Romanian Deadlift, which we would normally do with a weight. If you Google it or YouTube it, it's going to give you that. This is the same thing, but it's without the weight. You don't need a weight. You can do it with a weight, but it's just not necessary especially for single leg. And again, when you put a weight in it, it's fantastic, but you're increasing the risk.
Yeah, and Brucey bonus point is think about gripping the floor with your foot. So I often describe it as like a monkey foot. So if you think of your heel and you think of your toe, you drive the big toe and your heel into the ground. You don't want to claw under, but you want to push them down into the ground. This will engage all the feet muscles. And then again, that'll help create the structure in the knee and the hips. And then again, push the hips back. Something that happens very often with modern day trainers is they weaken feet muscles. So this is a really good counter towards that. If you're a dancer, you find yourself with shin splinters often, or calf injuries, etc. This is a really good exercise to counter that, and show as the ankle walking one, which we just spoke about.
Whereas college dance students, I guess you spend a lot of time barefoot. But if you're just a commercial dancer, you probably spend a lot of time dancing in trainers. So, if you do spend a lot of time dancing in trainers, it'd be great to do even just some footwork, practice picking things up with your toes, use your feet.
Get back to, because again, modern day trainers, absolutely shite for your feet.
Yeah, 100%. Unless they're Jordans, then they make your feet look sexy. And if
that's all that matters.
And if they're Skechers, then you've got shit feet. Sketchy. Skechers are sketchy, mate. Next exercise would be a Bulgarian split squat. But we would do it without a supported back leg. So a traditional Bulgarian split squat would be like, imagine you're stood in a lunge position and you're just bending to lower yourself down and extend back up. But instead of doing it supported with both feet on the floor, as we're advanced human beings, as dancers, we're the creme de la creme. I think you could remove your back leg. Don't amputate it, just lift it off the floor. So you're just balancing on one leg. The benefit of this is kind of similar to the RDL, except instead of just using your hamstring and your hips, you're using a lot of quad, which we want to have nice, strong quads. Obviously, as dancers, we don't want them to be too dominant, but we need to have strong legs, and it's going to help us stabilize our knees and our ankles, and also just help us with balance. Again, it's back to a unilateral training. So you're working one side and then the other, dependent on both sides. And you're going to find one is stronger than the other. You're going to be better at doing on one leg than the other. I always recommend doing the worst side first. Never do the best side first. And the benefit of this is, for me, it's giving you control. So it's not about doing it fast. So if you think about coming down for 8 counts and then back up for 8 counts, the slower the better. Like quality over quantity. I'd rather you do 5 really slow ones than 20 fast ones. Yeah, we want to like work on control and quality. Think of how many times you as a dancer have to land on one leg. Like you'll do an axle turn and land on one leg. And normally that's even worse because that's coming out of a turning motion. So you're creating like a torque sideways. Like, but we don't ever just train strength in our legs singly. Plie on one leg very often. We always plie on 2 legs, whether that's in first, second, whatever. But just support having that like strength around your knee and your ankle joints on one leg is so beneficial for us as dancers.
I think reading back to what Kane was saying about the lowering phase, so it's what's known as the eccentric phase. A lot of athletes that I train, I get them to work on the eccentric phase a lot. So learning how to cushion momentum. So I get them to jump and then slowly land into the floor so they can take the power out of the landing. So I definitely think on this exercise, again, what you're saying about going slow on the way down, 4 to 8 counts or 4 to 8 seconds on the eccentric, so the down phase. And then I would actually maybe even advise bursting up to get better jump power.
Yeah.
So 2 variations of it.
Yeah. And if you're really gangster,
you can jump.
You could jump them.
Yeah.
But not until you're good, I would say, at just doing it without the jump, because then you're going to work on being explosive as well. But again, this isn't about how many reps you can do. So don't make it a CrossFit workout class. Do you know what I mean? Like do you know what? Treat this like yoga. Like treat all of these exercises like yoga, where you want to try and relax and be calm and use muscles instead of trying to build up a sweat and
you want to be aware of what your body's doing.
Exactly. Less is actually more. My phone keeps locking. It's very unprofessional. Next one is side plank hip abductors. This one's you.
This one's up. So if you look to the video just above us here.
We haven't filmed these videos yet, so I hope this works.
Hopefully it all makes sense. So this one is great for, again, knee stability and knee control. Obviously, as dancers, your change of direction is every millisecond of a performance or whatever, or of your training day. So this one is great for the core, but also great for strengthening the side of the hip. Now, the side of the hip will help control where your knee is in space if it travels from left to right. Again, because you change your direction so often, you've got a higher opportunity of risk throughout knees and ankles. So this is going to really help create the base. So for those listening, you want to think a side plank. So you can either do this on elbow or on arm. But yeah, create a side plank with your knees and hips off the floor, and make sure that's like a sharp diagonal cutting up. You don't want your hips drooping. So you want a nice straight line from heel to head. From here, you're going to lift off the leg that's on the upside or the outside into like a scissor motion. Again, nice controlled. You want to think about keeping your hips straight on. So whichever way you're lying, your hips are facing that direction. Lifting your leg off the floor, back down again. Again, nice controlled. Again, 2-3 seconds up, 2-3 seconds down. And you should really hopefully feel on the side of the hip and also on your obliques of the side that you're leaning into.
And again, probably good to do this on your weaker side first, right? So you're not tired by the time you get to your weak side.
Because what you'll find is that your supporting legs, glute medius is also working as well. So I'd probably go weak side first.
Weak side first. Next one is, we still haven't figured out, what do we call it? A Y raise.
I actually think a Y up's a different story, but let's call it a Y press.
So imagine you're laying on your stomach, nice and flat. The goal is to squeeze your feet together. So you don't want wide legs. Squeeze your feet together so you engage your glutes and your inner thighs, your groin and stuff. And extend your arms above you. Keep a nice long neck. Don't shrug your shoulders. Nice like giraffe neck. Your arms are here. Well, you'll see it in the video above me. You want to lift your hands off the floor. You want to think of doing like, imagine you're doing like a pull down, like a back, like lateral pull down, but laying on your stomach. So I'm trying to bring my elbows to my rib cage without letting my arms touch the floor. And I'm trying to take the widest journey possible with my elbows. So my arms are pulling down and I'm squeezing them towards my rib cage. You'll feel this in your rear delts and your rhomboid, and you're pulling nice and tight. From there, I keep my feet like nice and tight, my glutes engage. I'm going to lift my chest off the floor, kind of to a similar position that you create in a yoga class as like a back exercise. Hold it for like 3 seconds, lower down for 3 seconds, and slowly extend your arms back out, doing the reverse pathway of what you just done. Again, not letting your hands touch the floor. Keep them hovering, hold it there for a second, and repeat that. This will feel easy the first 5 times you do it. By the time you get to 7 times, you're going to start feeling it burn. You'll feel it burning in your upper back, your rear delts, your glutes, your lower back. It's a really, really good exercise. It's quite difficult to create body weight exercises that train your back. So this is a good one, and this is so good for our posture. Because obviously what happens in like day-to-day life is we get a lot of forward rounded shoulder, especially if you're someone that does lots of push-ups or bench presses. Like you find like these meatheads have rounded shoulders at the front because they've got really tight pecs and they don't work on like their scapular retraction. So obviously you're retracting your scapula all the time in this exercise, which we're used to doing if we're dancers, because we do that when we're stood at a ballet bar or when we're dancing. But in day-to-day life, we sit at computers, we play on our phones, we're always in this rounded position. So this is so good for our posture. So I really, really enjoyed this exercise. And I noticed that it actually prevents a lot of shoulder injuries as well, because it's stopping that forward rounded motion.
Yeah, big time. Like again, a lot of these exercises, all these exercises are very much like it's a feeling based exercise. So you could probably butcher the way that you do the exercise that Kane's just explained. So you really got to think about engaging from those lower traps underneath the shoulder blades and squeezing through. Yeah. Same with like the RDL. It's all about control, balance, how much weight you're putting through your feet.
You're in control of the intention, because you're not relying on your own body weight necessarily to be lifted up and down, and you're not relying on shifting or moving a weight. You're creating the force and the feeling with your own texture and your own tensions.
Yeah.
Dope. And we have one more, and the last one is our Hindu push-up.
Oh yeah.
Hindu push-up. So I love this exercise. I think it's a great exercise for, first of all, shoulder mobility. Really good. So you're starting your downward dog position, getting a nice stretch to your hamstrings, your calves, and your shoulders. Don't know why I'm doing a Scottish accent for a Hindu push-up. From there, you want to slowly lower down. Think of doing like a swan dive. Your head is lower into the floor. I'm going to let my nose and my face just not touch the floor, but just brush past it, following by my chest to my stomach, to go through like this weird push-up position, to then go into like a, what would that be called?
Oh.
Like laying on your stomach.
Oh, I thought it's an ab stretch. I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah.
Though. I'm blanking.
You said you're wanking?
Blanking.
Oh.
Very good exercise.
Very good exercise. Good for right arm. Anywho,
left of it's not.
Back to sensible. Work weak side first.
Do you want those muscle imbalances, kids? Come on.
So yeah, you'll lower down. Well, you'll see it in this video, and you'll come to like, I guess, a swan.
I actually can't remember.
So anyway, you're in a press position. You want to drive your hips to the floor, lift your chest off the floor. Then you want to reverse that motion. So pull your hips. You can just pull yourself straight back to a downward dog, but they get a full bang for your buck. Is reverse that motion that you just created. So literally press rewind. Bring your hips back. Go the reverse way. Your stomach, your chest to your face. Passing the floor to go back to that downward dog position. This is a great upper body exercise. You're going to work your shoulders, your triceps, your chest. There's going to be some core activation in there. There's also going to be stretching of the hamstrings, calves, and of the abdomen and of the shoulders. So I just think that's a great upper body exercise. Instead of you bashing out 100 push-ups, why not do 20 of these and get more bang for your buck and work your shoulders and stuff as well?
I actually can't remember what that position's called.
We'll
I should really know that. I've been teaching it for years.
Yeah, but don't you find that's the way? Like, you don't.
I'm on pressure.
You just don't. Well, you just don't think of the word because you're like, I don't need to say the name of that. It's just show them as this.
Yeah.
Anywho, yeah. So there are our 7 exercises.
7 exercises.
7 exercises you can do anywhere. There'll be a video by here for you to watch them.
I bloody hope so. Anyway,
as we're explaining, and yeah, thank you. Please come back. Subscribe. Subscribe. Please come back. Subscribe on YouTube. You're watching it on YouTube, so go and subscribe, like it, and leave us a comment. Let us know what you liked, what you don't like. Let us know what you want to have more of. Follow us on Instagram at the Ins and Outs Podcast. I'm at Mr. Bullchange. This is
Gibson_media_.
That'll be at Gibson
sorry,
media_. And yeah, let us know what you think. We're probably going to do another video on exercises with equipment, because I feel like some people might want to go to the gym and do equipment. So we'll have another one of them coming soon. Peace out. One love.